Do you agree that all children can learn? Yes, they can. Do all children learn in the same way? No, absolutely not. We all have learners who experience barriers to learning or need more, perhaps even different and better support in our classrooms. In this lesson, we will look at ways to create effective conditions for learning and teaching to accommodate all learners in our schools. The Education White Paper 6, 2001, outlines inclusion as recognizing and respecting the differences among all learners and building on the similarities and supporting all learners, educators, and the system as a whole so that the full range of learning needs can be met. In other words, as the Minister of Education wrote in 1999, our challenge is to create the conditions of learning and teaching in all our learning institutions so that all learners can be fully accommodated and can flourish and contribute effectively to the regeneration of our society, our economy, and our country. So what are the main principles of inclusive teaching? In Education White Paper 6, inclusive education is defined as acknowledging that all children and youth can learn and that all children and youth need support. Accepting and respecting the fact that all learners are different in some way and have different learning needs, which are equally valued and an ordinary part of our human experience. Enabling education structures, systems, and learning methodologies to meet the needs of all learners. Acknowledging and respecting differences in learners, whether due to age, gender, ethnicity, language, class, disability, HIV, or other infectious diseases. Being broader than formal schooling and acknowledging that learning also occurs in the home and the community, and within formal and informal settings and structures. Changing attitudes, behavior, teaching methods, curricula, and environment to meet the needs of all learners. Maximizing the participation of all learners in the culture and the curriculum of the educational institutions, and uncovering and minimizing barriers to learning. Empowering learners by developing their individual strengths and enabling them to participate critically in the process of learning. I would like you to read the case study on Refilwe. You will find this in the reading section. It will also be used for your practice activity. You'll probably see straight away how Bronfenbrenner's ecological model, which you learnt about in the previous lesson, is at work in the case study of Refilwe. The case study describes a situation of which many of you are probably well aware of. You may perhaps identify that Refilwe's right to protection is being violated, since she is staying alone at home each week. She is not respected by her teachers and is abused emotionally. Refilwe is clearly one of those children whom the teachers regard as having disabilities and treat as different. They probably label her as a problem child and a slow learner. They seem not to recognize that she is in need of support. There is no doubt that Refilwe feels excluded and worthless. From completing the table in your practice activity, you will see how the interactions between Refilwe and the systems in which she finds herself affect her learning and development, and how each system feeds into the next one. Many of the interactions between the systems in her life are causing barriers to learning. When we analyze her situation, we can see clearly how desperate this little girl is. Support needs to be provided very rapidly before her situation becomes even worse. This way of understanding children's development is known as an ecosystemic framework. This framework looks at all the different systems that influence the ability of the learner to succeed in school, and for that matter, in everyday life. The way that systems work together can either cause delays in development or improve the quality of development and learning. If you look at the ecosystemic framework, you will notice that it does not exclude biological systems as factors in a child's learning and development, but recognizes that they are just one small part of the bigger picture. Therefore, instead of blaming a child for not performing well, a teacher could ask questions like, Tapo's not learning to read and write well. How can I change my teaching so he can learn to read easily? In this way, the adults take responsibility for the learning and development of children. At the same time, it preserves the child's dignity. The ecosystemic framework helps us to see children in a context, to see what systems are causing barriers to their development and learning, and to identify support that they might need to reach their full potential. We need to make the shift from the special needs approach towards an inclusive education approach, as summarized in Education White Paper 6. The special needs approach has the child at the center with a problem. All the child's problems must be cured. In the inclusive education approach, the education system is at the center, showing what needs to be changed. All learners need support. Teaching practices need to respond to learner diversity. Environment must be adjusted. Policies and legislation must be changed. Various stakeholders must become equal partners in education. Teachers must realize that barriers to learning emanate from factors within learners and around learners. Support should be provided in all schools and classrooms.